Ang susunod na programa ay rated G. Ito ay pwede sa lahat ng manonood.
Good morning, everyone. We are Group 3 and we will be presenting our Chapter 8 report regarding decision making and problem solving. So after studying this chapter, we should be able to first describe the nature of decision making and distinguish it from problem solving. Second, discuss the rational approach to decision making. Third, identify and discuss the primary behavioral aspects of decision making. Fourth, discuss group decision-making in organizations. And fifth, discuss the nature of creativity and related to decision-making and problem-solving. So to better understand the beginning of this chapter, it is important that we know the distinction between decision-making and problem-solving before delving into the deeper parts of the nature of decision-making. So decision-making is simply the process of choosing from among several alternatives. And again, what's present in decision making is the act of choosing within the scope of its alternatives. While problem solving is considered as a special form of decision making that requires finding the answer to a question. Now, what's present this time is the act of finding the answer from a specific question or scenario as a special form of decision making. In other words, problem solving uses a form of decision making to answer a question, while decision making is generally the act of choosing an alternative. So aside from the distinction, we also have the elements of decision making that is shown in figure 8.1. So everything will start from information being on the top and source part of the figure, and that could instantly provide alternative actions, action outcome probabilities, and value of outcome relative to goals. So those three are dependent on what the information would be like. But there has to be a process of goal alignment and choice of one alternative as the first and last part after acquiring the information respectively. Therefore, the process after acquiring information has to begin with the definition of goals for a set of direction, alternative action that have corresponding outcomes under action outcome probabilities, values of outcomes relative to goals, and finally the choice of one alternative being the last and the final choice. So it is also important to take note that a decision maker has a goal who knows and evaluates the outcomes of alternative courses of action that is relevant to the goal and selects one alternative to be implemented. So here are the types of decisions as continuation of decision-making's nature. It says here that a decision can be programmed or non-programmed decision. So programmed decisions are routine decisions that frequently develop decision rules with statements that consider guides, rules, or policies on which alternative to choose once they have a predetermined information about the decision situation. So for example, a company might have a policy to reorder inventory when stock levels reach a certain threshold, while non-programmed decision recurs rarely, but in unique situations with no previously established decision rules. An example could be a company deciding whether to enter a new market or develop a new product line, as these decisions involve uncertainty and require strategic analyses. Additionally, we have characteristics of programmed and non-programmed decisions to better understand its differences. So for the type of decision, programmed decisions are well structured, while non-programmed decisions are poorly structured. For the frequency, programmed decisions are repetitive and routine, while non-programmed decisions are new and unusual. For the goals, programmed decisions are often clear and specific, while non-programmed decisions are vague. For the information, programmed decisions are readily available, while in non-programmed decisions, information is not available, and they are also in clear channels. As for the consequences, program decisions are minor, but to non-program decisions, consequence is a major thing to consider. For the organizational level, program decisions are managed by the lower level positions, while non-program decisions are managed by upper level positions. For the time of solution, program decisions are short, while non-program decisions are relatively long. And if it is a basis for a solution, program decisions are based on decision rules that set procedures, while non-program decisions are based on judgment and creativity. So in the nature of decision making, we have decision making conditions where information levels about desired outcomes vary. There are three, and we have conditions of certainty being the highest, followed by risk and uncertainty being the lowest. So in condition of certainty, outcomes of alternative are known with enough information to determine the probabilities of various outcomes. This means that decision makers can absolutely foresee what's going to happen just by knowing the probabilities of alternatives. While in condition of risk, certainty of outcomes is unknown, but there is enough information to estimate probabilities of various outcomes. This means that decision makers can estimate the probabilities, but the degree on whether the specific outcome would exactly going to happen is unknown. And in condition of uncertainty, there is insufficient information to estimate the probability of possible outcomes, and that simply means that decision makers cannot predict or foresee any outcome due to insufficient information to base for.
So the three decision-making conditions of certainty, risk, and uncertainty for the decision about whether to promote a new video game to the market. Under the conditions of certainty, the future and outcome are highly predictable under the conditions of certainty. The more information this decision maker has, the better the decisions will be. While for the uncertainty, it is when the future and outcome are unpredictable and not having any information about the outcomes. It depends on our judgment, experience to make decisions. While for the risk, it is making decisions under the risk with having the knowledge of regarding the likelihood of occurrence of each outcome.
The rational approach to decision making. The rational approach assumptions are the following. Managers follow systematic, step-by-step process for making decisions. Organizations are dedicated to making logical choices. Organizations want to do what makes the most sense economically. Decision makers are completely objective and have complete information. Planning may require a contingency plan and alternative actions to take if the primary plan fails or is disrupted. The implementation may result in post-decision dissonance, doubt about a choice that's already been made.
So let's now move on to the rational decision-making approach. So the rational model follows a systematic, step-by-step approach from goals to implementation, measurement, and control. So as you can see from the figure below, it shows the rational model, which is, it starts off with the statement of situational goal, and then identification of problem criteria development. And then next we have is program or non-program decisions. And after that, we have is rational choice of best possible alternative, and then implementation, and lastly we have control, measurement, and adjustment.
So as we discussed before, the rational decision-making system is a systematic approach used by organizations, businesses, and individuals to arrive at the best possible decisions. We further explain this approach by discussing the strengths and weaknesses of the rational approach. So what is the rational approach? The rational approach is a decision-making framework that utilizes logic and structure in order to achieve a specific goal. The strengths of this approach is that It forces decisions in a logical sequential manner, and it is an in-depth analysis that enables the decision maker to choose on the basis of information rather than emotion or social pressure. The weaknesses, on the other hand, is that it has a rigid underlying assumption that is often unrealistic. The information is limited by time or cost constraints, which makes the manager's ability to process information hard. That is why picking a good manager is crucial. Not all alternatives are easily quantified, and outcomes are unknown due to unpredictability of future. So using present facts to form plans for the future may alter the information in the system used. There are 5 principles that are used to identify and utilize the best theory and data available to make decisions. This is called the evidence-based management. So what is the evidence-based management? The evidence-based management is considered as a commitment that individuals or organizations use to make decisions. The principles are as follows. Number 1, facing the hard facts and building a culture in which people are encouraged to tell the truth, even if it's unpleasant, to improve the decision making, encourage truth and transparency, and build a culture of truth telling. Number 2, being committed to fact-based decision making, which is getting the best evidence and using it to guide action so that the organization may make decisions in a logical way. Number 3, treating your organization as an unfinished prototype. So encouraging experimentation and learning by doing to further assess current or upcoming issues that may arise. Number 4, looking for risks and drawbacks in what people recommend, because even the best medicine has side effects, so that the organization may continue to improve. And lastly, avoiding basing decisions on untested beliefs. What was done in the past, or uncritical benchmarking of what winners do, because not all situations repeat themselves. There are times wherein the events of the past that happened, but there is a different cause or goal in mind. I will be now giving the floor to the next reporter.
The rational model follows a systematic, step-by-step
to enhance creativity in organizations, define and communicate
Sensing SS, intuitions,
Think in the workplace is a behavior that occurs in group.
Or the rational decision making.
It is a tendency for a group's others cause discussion.
Namalay ka na ba, ha? Nagsaing! Yung mga plato ba, nahugasan mo na? Nakapaglaba ka na ba? Naku, yung basura, baka nakalimutan mo ni dapat lalangawin tayo. At saka alas 3, ha? Huwag mo kakalimutan, susundin mo si Junior, ha? Siyempre, magmamadyong ako, ha? Tandaan mo, dapat mo... At habang sumusundo ka, huwag mong kalimutan mag-withdraw dahil mag-grocery tayo pagdating ko. At huwag mo rin kalimutan diligan ng aking...
So moving on to the next slide, this approach, particularly the administrative model, acknowledges the significance of human behavior in the decision-making process. Unlike the rational approach that assumes decision makers operate logically and rationally, the administrative model recognizes that decision makers work within the bounds of bounded rationality. Bounded rationality suggests that individuals may seek the best solution to a problem, but are limited by the complexity of processing all information, generating all possible solutions, and choosing the best solution. Sub-optimizing knowingly accepts less than the best outcome to avoid unintended negative consequences for the rest of the organization. Satisficing examining alternatives only until a solution that meets minimal requirements is found.
So, I'm here to talk about the other behavioral approach in decision making. 1. Coalitions. These are informal partnerships among individuals or groups established to pursue a common goal which can have an advantageous or detrimental effect. The second one is intuition. A gut feeling or instinctive understanding of a solution often leads to an improved outcome of decision making. 3. Escalation of commitment. This occurs when the decision maker has a tendency to stay with the decision despite evidence of potential failure. The number 4 is risk propensity. This is the level of a decision maker's willingness to take risks or gamble while making a decision. Lastly is ethics, a person's beliefs or principles concerning what is acceptable or not in terms of conduct. Then the next approach is the integrated or practical approach, when this kind of approach merges the unrealistic expectations of the rational approach with the constrained immediate focus of the behavioral approach, resulting in a more pragmatic method of organizational decision making. Next approach is the hybrid approaches, where this kind of approach involve a manager's use of a combination of rational behavior and practical approaches to reach decisions. This also has the research that has shown that speeds of decision making isn't a factor in the quality of the decision.
Practical approach to decision making with behavioral guidelines. In figure 8.4, the practical model applies some of the conditions recognized by the behavioral approach to the rational approach to decision making. Although similar to the rational model, the practical approach recognizes personal limitation at each point in the process. Group decision making in organizations. Group polarization. It is a tendency for a group's average post-discussion attitudes to be more extreme than its average pre-discussion attitudes. There is a polarization when there is an increasing confidence from shared opinions. Also, persuasive arguments convincing weaker supporters, and individuals substituting group responsibility for individual responsibility for the decision.
Groupthink in the workplace is a behavior that occurs in groups. It refers to the tendency of group members to override their thinking and judgment to maintain group anonymity and avoid conflict. The symptoms of groupthink contains illusion of vulnerability, rationalizing or discounting warnings, an unquestioned belief in the group's morality and ethics, stereotyped views of the enemy, pressure against the alternative opinions, shared illusions of anonymity due to self-censorship, and self-appointed mid-guards. Groupthink occurs when people converge on the same idea with little critical thinking or opposition within the ranks. While groupthink can signal solidarity and may show respect for difference to senior leaders, it also shuts down dissenting voices and alternative opinions. This means that wrong ideas or bad strategies can become amplified or ultimately implemented. Groupthink therefore can lead to suboptimal or even disastrous outcomes.
And now, let's now move on to the group decision making. So, first we have here is the participation in decision making. So, this is to what degree should employees be involved in the decision making process. So, moving on to the benefits of participation. So, participation enhances outcomes by improving solutions in judgmental tasks and fostering creativity in complex problem solving scenarios, while also generating greater interest and motivation for the task among participants. So, active engagement not only leads to better results but also cultivates a sense of ownership and enthusiasm, driving individuals to contribute more effectively. So, for the drawbacks we have here is higher risk of polarization and groupthink. And now, moving on, we have here is group problem solving. Three techniques can help the process work better. So, these three techniques are brainstorming. So, this is used in the idea generation phase to assist in developing many course of action. Second, we have nominal group technique, which is members generate many ideas, discuss them, and then vote, repeating the cycle until they reach a decision. So lastly, we have is Delphi technique. So this is a method of systematically gathering judgments from experts for use in developing forecasts.
Creativity involves generating novel ideas or perceiving existing ideas from new perspectives. Creative individuals exhibit specific characteristics, background experiences, exposure to diverse cultures, arts, sciences, or environments, fostering experimentation and innovation. Personality traits: openness to the new experiences, attraction to complexity, high energy levels, independence, autonomy, self confidence, and belief in their creative abilities. Cognitive abilities: creative individuals are intelligent and capable of both convergent and divergent thinking, allowing them to approach problems innovatively. So the creative process includes four stages like preparation, incubation, illumination, and verification. So for preparation, gathering information, exploring concepts, and immersing in the subject matter. Incubation, the sample for that can be subconscious processing of information gathered, often leading to sudden insights. For illumination, you have emergence of novel ideas or solution characterized by a burst of creativity. Lastly, for verification, we have evaluation, refinement, and testing of ideas or solutions for feasibility and effectiveness. To enhance creativity in organizations, define and communicate organizational goals that prioritize creativity. Encourage brainstorming, idea sharing, and experimentation. Recognize and celebrate innovative ideas, projects, and initiatives to reinforce a culture valuing innovation. Understand that failure is a part of the creative process. Encourage a support environment where employees feel safe to take risks, learn from failures, and iterate on ideas.